This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com. Hey everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I am hoping that you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Rhea Lana Riner. Rhea is an entrepreneur and CEO of Rhea Lana Children's Consignment Events, a national franchising company with 120 locations across 26 states. Rhea Lana, thank you so much for coming on.
Jill, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Oh my gosh. So when I spoke to you, I think I've been talking about you since I first spoke with you because I am so incredibly fascinated by what you do and how you were able to go from like living room CEO to multi-million dollar franchise. So tell us what you do exactly.
Well, I host a children's consignment pop-up events. That's our product. And so that's what I started in my living room almost 30 years ago. And yeah, I was a stay-at-home mom, really wasn't planning to build a business. It was really just meant to be this little thing among friends because I just saw a real need. And for one thing, my husband had left the corporate world. And so we had taken this huge nosedive in our family income. I had 3 small children under the age of 5. I loved cute kids' clothes. I couldn't afford them. So really it was out of necessity is how it started. And back during that time, I really saw that there wasn't, again, just a great secondhand experience. You could do garage sales, which I enjoyed, or you could go to a consignment store. But I just felt like, my things kind of dropped into a big black hole. And so we've just always loved giving a report so a mom could know exactly where her items went. So that's how it started. And then about 15 years in, we franchised. And so now I do lead a franchising company and just really enjoy helping other women learn to do business. So that's it in a nutshell.
I love it. Obviously you didn't think it would ever get this big when you first started. Was it even an idea? Oh, no.
No, not at all. I didn't have a business background. My family doesn't do business. I didn't even know I liked business. And so it just was this little thing. My youngest child was headed off to preschool and I knew I had some time and I had some energy to give. And I had the first one. Well, the first one actually failed, Jill. I didn't know anything about marketing. And I just had these 3 little racks of clothes in my living room. And I'm kind of a perfectionist and an introvert. And I thought, well, if it's perfect enough, people will come. And so I had to learn that I actually had to invite people and I had to learn that part. And so I did it a second time and asked all those consigners that was with the moms selling their things if I could do it again. And they said, sure. And so I learned how to invite people. And so as I started learning more about business, I actually realized I enjoyed it. And then the moms were loving it because now they had this avenue to not only sell their things, but then buy things. So it really kind of took on a life of its own, if I have to be honest.
Sure. No, because, I have 3 kids too, and children's clothes are so expensive. And you use them maybe for a couple months,
Yeah. And especially when they're little, you think of a little baby's outfit, can cost sometimes $100 if you buy one in a boutique, they're really, and then they barely wear it. And they just didn't have a good avenue to get the value. Whereas, this marketplace, it just sort of created moms who were willing to pay a little more. Cause when I would have a garage sale, for example, I would have my daughter's dress that I'd taken really good care of. And a garage sale shopper would want to offer me 5 cents. And I knew it was worth at least $7, Right. And so I think it has brought together the same kind of buyers and shoppers.
So what was the reaction from people? You said it was all good, but I always ask like entrepreneurs because you're amazing, right? And you had no business background. So there has to be that doubt that comes in, right? And then sometimes friends will be like, what are you doing? Right?
Well, for sure. And I'm not amazing. Okay. I was just a regular person and I doubted myself for sure. There was also a lot of doubt around me. My friends were stay-at-home moms. And so, nobody really understood exactly. I kind of feel like I would be on the sidelines with the soccer moms, and then
Yeah.
I'd disappear for a month to go run my event, and I'd pop back up on the sidelines. Where you been, Rhea Lana? What you been doing? I'm doing this little secondhand thing. And so people really didn't get it. And there was definitely a lot of doubt, but I think in my heart, I just enjoyed it. I figured out, and it was hard. I mean, so many challenges, failed
Yeah.
so many times, different little things, but there was, I think business is a lot like being a mom, because if you pour your heart and your soul, you get to watch it grow, just like children. You get to, just as you pour into them, they grow and you watch them mature. And so I think I realized that I enjoyed that, even with the challenges. I just enjoyed watching it kind of grow. And so, but there was definitely a lot of doubt for sure.
Yeah. And what are the ages of the things in the consignment shops for kids? It's all kids, so it's not adult stuff, which I feel like most
Mhm.
consignment shops are, right?
hmm
Yeah.
Well, we say it's gently used. So we do have a quality inspection. We want everything to be excellent quality. One of our slogans is excellent quality at affordable prices.
Mm.
And so it needs to be things that moms want, and it has to be excellent quality, no holes, rips, stains, tears,
Mhm.
and just in the recent condition, again, something that we wouldn't want to have something that's 10 years old. We're not vintage clothing. We're
Right.
just recent, excellent quality, but we're all looking for a good secondhand deal. It's like a
Yeah.
treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty fun.
But everyone benefits, which so for people you know, not everyone might know what consignment is, but what is consignment? Everybody makes money in this scenario, right?
It is, yeah. A consignor, that's the family selling their things. And so they sell their items and there's, again, you can do consignment lots of different ways,
Yeah.
but our way at Rhea Lana is you enter them into a database online. And so the consignors get to choose their own price, and then they make 65% of that. So, that's
Wow.
really awesome. And then, so
Yeah.
we, of course, make a portion of that, and that's goes into all the expenses to rent the facility and do the marketing and all the things. And so it's a win-win. And that's
Mm.
another great thing about it. It's a win-win for everyone.
And you have 120 stores. I mean,
Well, they're pop-up events. Yeah.
right. Well, they're pop up, but so how long is it? Like a month or two or?
No, it's about a week, actually. It's a
Oh.
pop-up event. It's a seasonal business. And so when someone buys one of our franchises, they are buying a seasonal business. So it's kind of a nice part-time gig.
Right.
And some folks still have their full-time career, or sometimes they might be at home, but it's a seasonal business. And so and I've always loved that. When I was just getting started, people would say, Rhea Lana, when are you going to get serious and open a store? And that
Mm.
was just never the end game. And so typically an event might be in a week. We might take a week to move in and take all the merchandise in and set up the store, and then another week to have the actual sale where shoppers come in. And then at the end, we sort it all back so that the consignors can come and pick up the items that have sold. Another really neat thing we do, Jill, at the end of our events is the consignors get to select that their items that haven't sold if they want to. We give those items to needy families, foster families, some of the military. So we just have this wonderful kind of a mini event at the end
Mm.
where these families come in and get the things that they want for free. And so we really love that aspect of what we do.
Mm. I love that you really you talk about how important it is for moms to kind of decide to go to find that work life balance, but decide to go back or into the work, force. So what was that like for you? Because again, you said, you didn't have a business background. So, and you
Mhm.
kind of just became something, right? But it had to been, like you said, it was hard, right? So like, is there a lesson? Like when you said you failed the first time, what did you learn
Mhm.
from that?
Well, I did have to learn that it takes a lot of grit and
Mm.
resilience. If you want to keep going, you've got to keep trying harder, learning new
Mhm.
things about yourself, coming up with creative solutions. You can't be someone that gives up easily. And so, but I learned that I enjoyed that ultimately. I mean, like there were
Mm.
definitely times when I wanted to quit, but I think if we can be problem solvers, especially as women, we don't just fall apart and lay on the ground and cry, even though we want to.
Yeah.
But if we can be problem solvers and push forward, then it's pretty inspiring. Then it gives you I think I ended up realizing that I loved being a mom and a wife and all those things, but I really enjoyed kind of carving out this other thing that I really enjoyed. And it gave me something else to work on. And it added just another level of kind of identity and dimension to my life. And so I just would encourage every woman out there to just make sure you're making space for that passion project. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurial thing like I'm doing, but I do think everybody needs something, because you can get where I am. I'm actually 60 now. I'm a mom and a grandmom. And, at some point the kids do grow up and go away. And if you haven't carved out something that's for you, you can kind of feel a little bit lost. And so, I really love, I'm at this stage of my life where we're empty nesting, and I love having this to do. It's sure definitely challenging, but it adds just another, just level of purpose, I think, at this stage of life. So sometimes we kind of got to look down the road and what do we want to be doing maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now?
I love that. But also, I mean, while you were building it, you were able to, right, stay at home too, for the most part,
Mhm.
while you were starting, and also have this on the side. And I think that's so attractive to so many moms. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I was. I mean, I definitely missed something. When I would run event, I was out of the house and all the stuff fell apart at home. There was no
Yeah.
groceries and the laundry wasn't done.
Yeah.
But it was awesome, and I think everything takes some amount of sacrifice. But for us, it was a wonderful work-life balance. And that is one of the things that we love to say that to folks that are interested in our franchises. It does provide a wonderful work-life balance for those that are looking for that, for sure.
Oh, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Um, would you say that uh, the lessons you learned, because now this is a national brand. You're not up, you're in Arkansas, Conway, which I love because that's my maiden name
Yes.
is Conway. So we have that going, but we're up in New York and we don't have it. You're not up here yet. Not yet, right?
You're right. We'd love to be someday.
Yeah, yeah. So in that stage, like how hard is it to build your brand and scale it to a national audience?
Well, I definitely wore a lot of hats. And in my case, we didn't really feel that we could take on the risk of borrowing a lot of money. Again, my husband had made this career change. He was a nonprofit work. And so we've always bootstrapped it. And we basically would just make enough money to be able to kind of afford the next small step. That's what worked for our family. But what that meant for me too is I had to be willing to wear a lot of hats, do a lot of things. And there were definitely some years and it thankfully was as my kids were probably gone and in college, but I was working a lot. I mean, literally probably 80, 100-hour weeks sometimes, but that's
Wow.
what it took to be able to, the question was how to scale, how to get to this national level. That's what I was ready to tackle at that stage of my life. And so I had a lot of time but it meant I did have to work a lot because I couldn't necessarily afford to hire people yet to help me. And I do think that's part of the entrepreneurial journey is, if you're not careful, you can grow yourself out of business. And
Ooh,
and that was, let's see, what book is that? Good to Great. That's a
it's a
business
good
book
book.
that it's good to great. And so I was always fearful of, sure, I wanted to grow, but I could only grow at the rate that was sustainable for me. And so what that meant is I was going to try to do everything I could. And then I think I just had a great team all along. There were always people around who would work, who maybe hadn't done corporate type work before, but they were willing to learn. And so I'm so grateful for all those who've come along beside me through the years and helped at different stages of our business. And now we're at this stage where I have this amazing corporate team and a lot more corporate experience, and we can afford higher salaries and more team members. And so I really don't even work as much as I used to. But it's still an important, very role that I have. And I still work a lot, but it's not like I'm having to wear 10 hats like I did in
Right.
that stage when we were having to figure out, can we be a national brand?
What was the hardest part in that transition to go from local to national?
Well, for one, is just the whole imposter syndrome. I oftentimes felt like I was still just this stay-at-home mom. Could I really do it? I also went through a period where we've actually fought the government, Jill. It was an overregulation. And so they came after me and I ended up it was about a 10-year battle. I'm actually
Wow.
sued the federal government. It was crazy. But during that time, I did grow a lot as a leader, and I had to learn how to speak, and I went to Washington, D.C. And I just think that's part of the journey. You don't really,
Yeah.
if I'd known it was coming, I probably hadn't done it,
Right,
wouldn't have done
right,
it.
right.
But then those unexpected things come and you realize, oh, I can do this. It's hard. We was saying around here is hard doesn't mean bad all the time. It's just hard, and so you do the next hard thing and your capacity increases. And so I think for me, a lot of that in the beginning was just confidence. I hadn't done this before. I didn't really have any other peers that were doing it. And so trying to just soak up information where I could and try to do the best, try to be honest, stay true to my values and do the next right thing every day. And I think if you start there, honestly, that will take folks really far. If you'll just try to do the next right thing every day to the best of your ability, then you don't have any regrets. And so I think that just helps us take the next step forward.
Oh, how did you overcome the doubts that came to your head? I mean, during this whole thing, I mean, you had to face that to have to face that. First of all, with the government is a whole nother level where it's got to knock you, no matter who you are. You'd be like, why am I under attack? But then how do you, because I always ask women that because I feel like that really helps women because we all hear that negative voice saying, who do you think you are? Like you said, you have that imposter syndrome where you're going from mom to CEO and you want to be like, am I ready for this? What am I thinking?
Well, I think along the way, there are if you'll listen, we sometimes have to listen and be open. There were people that were affirming me along the way. And sometimes I'd have to make sure I was taking it into my heart, But I remember when I was having those early conversations with attorneys in Washington, D.C., and I had never spoken to an attorney in my life. And all of a sudden I was trying to explain my model. And I remember one of the things that they said to me one day is they said, Rhea Lana, every time we talk to you, you just give us the same answers and you tell us the same thing. And like, we think we trust you. And I said, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you don't realize it, but this is very rare. Most of the people in business that we are representing, they're actually dishonest and they're actually trying to do dishonest things. And so they give us you're just, and because I think at that point I was still a little afraid, like, am I doing something wrong? I just don't know,
Of course. Sure.
And so little things like that gave me confidence that, you know what, I'm just going to be true to what I know. I'm going to do the best I'm going to be humble. And if I've made a mistake somewhere, I'm going to admit it and apologize and move on and correct immediately. But I think those things happen. And then as you get to meet more people, and there's just that affirmation of, oh, actually what you did was really hard. And that was really good. Because you don't, when it's your own story, you're just living out your life.
Right.
But it gives you a little bit of confidence. But then at the same time, when that confidence comes, for me, it makes me want to give that back to other women and just say, you can do it. Because I was that mom, I was that woman that was, and still struggle with it for sure, because there's always another level that you're trying to kind of get to that you don't know where you're going. But if we can just all really encourage each other that we can do more than we think, and we can be confident yet humble, then it would just really make the world a better place, wouldn't it?
Oh, I am all about that. This is why I really felt like creating this podcast, because I said, we need to show the world that we can support each other, that women don't have to tear each other down. We can support. There's enough for everyone, right? You don't have to compete. Yeah.
And I love that you're doing this, Jill. I think it's a wonderful platform and women need to hear that message. And you're just doing a fabulous job.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But so I wanted to ask you, I think that made me blush, but thank you. I wanted to ask you how can moms, they're running a business, whatever it may be. How do they know when to take that next step, that next leap into, major business? Like, is there a telltale sign in your business when you're at a stage where you're like, I could really take this, I could grow this?
Well, for me, I think I realized that I was meeting a need out there.
Yeah.
I think you do have to be very in tune with who is my audience and what need am I meeting,
Mm,
because you might need to tweak it. But
mm,
so you can't really shove something onto the marketplace,
right.
like I wouldn't want to, honestly, I wouldn't want to be the next pizza place coming out because there's so much competition out there,
Right.
you know, but, I think if you can look around in your daily life and where are the needs and how can I meet those, then that's just a nudge. And I
Mm,
think for me, in our story, I was kind of hoping my husband would go back into the corporate world, quite honestly. But several years in, he wanted to stay doing what he was doing. And it made me take a hard look at our life and go, well, if he wants to do that, I got to figure out something
mm,
so that we can still be where we want to be financially as a family down the road, 20
mm,
years from now. And so for me, it sort of caused me to look at what I was doing. I was actually teaching tennis lessons at the time, and I was losing money over here. And then I was
mm,
making this little thing was making money, and moms were saying, please do it more. It was growing. So it just kind of, in some ways, it was pulling me in that
mm,
direction. And I would just say, that would be my encouragement is it meeting a need? If it's
mm,
not, then you don't want to go down some road that's not meeting a need.
mm,
Try some different things. Look around, and what can you try? Where can you meet a need? And then what makes sense financially? Can you just dabble in it? Can you continue testing out the waters to see if you can make a profit in this area? And don't go all in it yet
mm.
until you know there's something proven with the financial piece.
Right. And that's, I think, hard. I think that's hard to,
Mhm.
I think growing a business is hard, period. So when I see someone like you who's a wonderful, beautiful woman inside and out, and you have grown in scale, it's like every woman, I feel like, well, I can't say that. Many women want to do that and say, I want to, there's no shame in ambition, right? I want to go big or go home, right? I want to take it as far as I can take it. And you are the epitome of that, where I think, what a beautiful message. Like, yes, you can, right? You can do it.
Well, I think the thing that helps me stay grounded is that we're very mission minded. It isn't only about bigger and better. It's how can we serve more?
Mm,
And I think if that's the motivation, it really helps you go someplace that maybe you didn't even intend to. Like, I definitely
mm,
have goals, and we want to have more franchises, and we definitely want to grow, but we really are motivated by serving. And so my team has that same motivation. And I think
mm,
when that's your motivation, you get up with your heart in the right place every day as well. And you attract people that have that same mission mindset. And so I do think that when that's your mindset, oftentimes growth comes that you didn't maybe anticipate. And
mm,
so that would be just another word is ambition is awesome. I'm super competitive. I love to grow, but we don't want to be ambitious just for the
mm.
sake of being
Right.
ambitious, because I think at the end of the day, that doesn't really fill our hearts
Mm.
with purpose.
Is that the secret to success, do you think, to fulfill a need, to live with purpose?
It sounds good to me. I mean, I think that's a great definition of success.
I don't know. That just came to me. But um, well, what would you attribute it to? Your successes, of so many of them.
Well, I think for it, just not giving up, oftentimes, not giving up. I do think I love to build teams. I don't do anything by myself. I have teams at my events. I now have 200 people that help me run an event. And so you
Wow.
do have to care a lot about culture. How do you keep people working together?
Hmm.
And we have our team of franchise owners and our corporate office. We have a team. And so I do think you need to love people. You got to be able to
Hmm.
build teams. You've got to learn in leadership. I think as a leader, you have to always be willing to grow and change and reach that next level and learn to have hard conversations. I think that's a stage of life I'm in a little bit with my leadership, is sometimes we're not a good fit for everybody. And so I need to figure out how to, those who are not a good fit need to find their way out. And then I'm always looking for new talent because again, I'm 60. And so
Hmm.
I'm looking to see who is the younger generations who love what we do, love our mission, and who can help us connect with that next generation.
That's getting the right people. That's part of Good to Great, right? Which
Yes.
everyone, if you want a great book, From Good to Great, I think it's Jim Collins, I want to say,
I
but
think you're right. Yep.
it's an excellent book. It's like getting all the people, the right players on the bus in the right seat, and then gently letting the wrong people off the bus, right? Okay, so Rhea Lana, we have more coming up after the commercial break. This is so good. And this is what a great premise for a business, and you have taken it so very far. So we'll talk more about the path to help moms avoid burnout, because I think that is so important, and so much good stuff coming up. So you're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women, winner of the Best Podcast Folio Media Award right here in New York. So help me get the word out. Share this with your friends, because this is so good. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Conway. Thank you so much for listening and loving the Secrets of Powerful Women podcast. If you could, please like and subscribe to my channel on Spotify or iHeart, Apple Music, Audible, and YouTube. It will help me expand the show and bring you more incredible women who are inspiring you with their stories. I am so grateful for your support, so thank you. Keep listening and share this with your friends. We're changing the world. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Rhea Lana Riner is with me, and Rhea Lana is an entrepreneur and CEO of Rhea Lana's Children Consignment Events, a national franchising company across 26 states. She has built a business from her, as I said earlier, her living room many years ago to now huge CEO and multi-million-dollar business. So I want to talk to you about, Rhea Lana, about how you talk often about how moms can avoid burnout. So what do you tell moms who we wear so many hats, right? So, and you were able to succeed and do it all and still have kids at home. So how do you teach moms to avoid burnout?
Well, I think there's a few things. I think one thing is just perspective, is to remember that there's seasons of life. And especially for moms, children are small for a season. Eventually they are going to grow up. They don't need us as much. And I am now in the empty nesting phase where I have lots of time. And so I think if we can look at our life with just some perspective and just know there is going to be some ebb and flow, but then kind of keep investing in yourself over time, carve out a piece so that you are investing in yourself, so that as life does change and you have more personal time, you have a skill and you've developed yourself. So I think that's one thing, is just perspective. And then I would also just say prioritizing our time. I think when my kids were home, when I decided I really wanted to figure out business, I started saying no to a lot of things. Like I could have done a lot, and we're all asked to do a lot, but I didn't, wasn't the PTO president at school, and I didn't lead everything that, I think you really do have to prioritize. And of course, now with our cell phones, we can all scroll our life away, but I think we have to, for sure, pick your priorities and then stay focused on them. And so I feel like that was one of the things that I did pretty well. Is I wanted to try to focus on my family. I wanted to try to stay married if I could, and, raise good, healthy kids if I could. And then I wanted to, try to have this business. And so those were my top priorities. And then I am a person of faith. And so that was always a priority as well. And then I just really said no to a lot of things that were sort of distractions. And so I think those are just a couple of things, just perspective and priorities. I think if we can win there, then that goes a long way.
Let's talk about that, the power of no, because I feel like you women, especially women, often feel bad saying no. But what did you find in that? I mean, I say power because there's a power in saying yes, and then there's the power, as you said, of saying no, and it's really hard. That's really hard for a lot of women to do.
I think all of us struggle with insecurities. And so I think as we say yes, somehow that boosts our confidence, or we feel like we're pleasing everybody. But to some extent, we just cannot please everybody. And I think when we can realize that that's just an endless funnel exhausting us. So I think it gives us the power to say no. And then I think when you see yourself actually beginning to thrive in some areas, it gives you confidence to say, you know what, that's not my thing. Nope. Not going to do that. Nope. And you also then get to spend time, really choose who you want to be your circle of friends, who you want to be like, and I think that for me helped me too. There were just in my life, there were some women that were maybe just a little too drama or a little too, I just didn't have time for that. And I think when you kind of know where your purpose is and where you're going, you also want to be around those kinds of people too, which then helps you kind of say no as well.
Did you have a mentor, Rhea Lana?
I didn't. I wish I did. I really didn't. Through the years, I've had a few. I did read a lot of books. For me, reading has been, their podcasts weren't big back then. I'm so glad they are now, and everybody should listen to podcasts. But I just read a lot of books. And when I was first beginning to franchise, I read a lot about Mary Kay Ash. She was the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. And I never sold a product. I never was really a salesperson, but I loved her books because she was one of the first women who really broke the glass ceiling in business and then at an executive level. And so I just read everything I could find on her as a woman. And she was a single mom who did all this as a single mom supporting her sons. And so I just thought her story was inspirational, and I learned a lot. She was one of my early mentors.
Oh, you know what? I've never read about her. Obviously I know Mary Kay Cosmetics, but I've never read about it. I think that's probably a great book. Let's talk about franchising. I don't know a whole lot of franchising. I see the franchises, but so how do you franchise? What is the business of franchising?
Well, I love franchising because franchising is like doing business in community. And for me personally, I never wanted to do business by myself, and I wanted to do it with other people. And so that's what franchising is. When I first decided I wanted to franchise, I do have to be honest, Jill, I didn't know anything about it either.
Yeah.
And I just bought the book Franchising for Dummies. And that is really how I franchised. I didn't have a lot of money to hire a consultant. So the money that I did have, I hired an attorney to write my contracts. And then I just kind of would take the kids to the community pool, and I read through that, and then one other franchising book. And I just thought, I'm going to try this thing. And there's different models, but the basic model is that you buy into a franchising company with an upfront cost, and then you pay what's called royalties after each event. And so royalties are based on the gross sales of your event. And one of the things that we have done that's different, that I still don't think I've ever seen out there, but we have an inverted royalty fee. And so the typical, and I didn't really know, if I have to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. My husband might have said it wasn't a good decision, but I really loved the idea. One of the things I learned from Mary Kay Ash was the golden rule principle. It's in the Bible, but it just talks about putting yourself in another person's position and treating people the way you would want to be treated. And so when I put myself in the position of a franchisee, I would want to keep more of my money. As I learned this business and as this business grew, why would I want to give back more when I'm really needing the corporate office less? And so I decided to do an inverted royalty fee. And so what that means practically now is that less money is coming in here to the corporate office that I have to run this business, but it means my franchise owners out there are actually keeping more of their money. And so the reason I did that is I just thought, if they can be successful quicker, if I can be generous and give them money back quicker and long term, then these franchises will sell themselves because we'll have less turnover. People will be successful quicker, and then they will want to do this for the long term. And that really has worked well for us. We have many people that have now been franchise owners for 15, 17 years. And we have, once someone gets profitable, we have low turnover because it is a wonderful business model for someone looking for what we're doing. But that's the basic. And then the cool thing is when you're in franchising, you are doing it in community. Like there's a saying that's all boats rise with the rising tide. So we know that as my franchise sister franchise down the road, as she does well, I'm going to do well because we all have the same brand. We're promoting the same brand. We all want to do well together. And it encourages our veteran franchise owners to really mentor our new franchise owners because we want these newbies, these new babies, we call them, to get off the ground and grow quickly because it helps the whole company as a whole.
So if I wanted to franchise, I would reach out to you, let's say, or if anyone listening, they would reach out to
Mhm.
you and I would buy the model. Is that or
Mhm.
right? Okay, okay.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
buying the model, you've got software, operations support, we have ongoing support. So yes, you're buying the model, the systems, and
The
then
name,
we
everything.
guide you. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard you talk about now a couple times, Rhea Lana, about faith and what that role is in your life. So how has that helped you build a business, or has it helped you build a business?
It really has. When I first started franchising, my attorney had said, Rialana, you need to write down all these operations of how you do things. And so it was just kind of a frustrating experience, honestly, because I didn't
Mm,
really know how to put it on paper at the time. This was,
mm,
over 15 years ago. But I remember when I was finished writing these operations and I had them all down, and a girlfriend of mine, we would go and we'd drop the kids off at school and then we'd go and walk,
mm,
um, and I was kind of proud of myself. And I remember saying, Andrea, I finished this part. I'm so excited. And she said, Rialana, but did you also include the why behind what you do? Like the filter through which you think and the way you make
mm.
decisions. And I remember being kind of mad at her, it's like, oh, darn, that means I got to keep writing stuff down. But I think that's where for me, faith really has played a part because it's my values. It's my filter through which I make decisions. It's how we treat people. And it gives me also a basis to communicate that to other team members when they're joining. It's not that everybody has to share my faith,
Mm.
but it does mean that there is a way that we make decisions and it's a way that we treat people that's consistent and it's not going to change. And so
Mm.
I think that's where the power has come from, is that the filter, it is always the same.
Mm. Do you rely on your intuition, like you said, or do you meditate or anything like that? Is there anything that helps you get quiet where you listen to, that inner voice?
I do. I like to. Yeah. Sometimes I don't do it as much as I should, but
Mm,
definitely quiet, just some time to pray, to read the Bible and really kind of remember what is my foundation.
mhm,
Especially the world right now. It's a crazy, scary place. And so I
mhm,
think it's important to be grounded on what's truth, what's consistent, what's never changing. And so that does help me. And I just honestly feel like pretty much daily, I pray for wisdom. I've always felt like, whoo, this is tougher because I've always been trying to do things I've never done before,
mm,
especially in terms of leading a company. And
mm.
so my hope and prayer is that I would be wise beyond my years, and that I would treat people right, because it's not always black and white. And
Mm.
so, yeah, it just helps me try to be wise.
I feel like also you mentioned that you walk and you exercise and stuff, and I feel like so often I don't know what it is with walking, but especially when you're like either walking by yourself or walking with your friend, some ideas they just start flowing. I mean, it's pretty
I
cool.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely moving, exercise. It clears out the brain fog.
Mm,
It just gets all those hormones going. And so I definitely agree. Just a good walk in the sunshine is just good for everybody.
yeah. What is there any books you're reading now that you might help you scale even further?
Well, I'm actually listening to a podcast called AI Explored. I'm personally trying to learn more about AI.
Me
I
too.
also always love leadership books. I love everything by John Maxwell and so many. I love Dave Ramsey. I feel like he does
Hmm.
always learning about financials and leadership. But I am trying to push myself to learn about AI and how it can help us in our company. And so I'm kind of pushing myself in that realm.
Yeah, yeah. Your company is very community oriented, it seems, with each other. So do you have big events like yearly, like where you gather everyone?
We do. We have franchise owners conferences every year. And, a lot in the franchising community, a lot of companies have gone to every 2 years because it's cheaper that way. But
Mm,
we are committed to every year. It is an investment for us, but it is so, so important to come together and for us to be able to just talk about how the industry is changing. How are we changing? What are the innovative steps that we're taking to really build connection? I think in
mm,
franchising, the part that can be a little bit lonely is that although our corporate office is here in Arkansas, you'll have a woman who's running a business and she's in Iowa or she's in California or she's in South Florida. And so we want those women running those businesses to feel connected, and so that we can have these trust relationships, so that there's some days we do have to maybe have a hard conversation, or maybe there's been miscommunication. We want to make sure that there's levels of trust so that we are just thinking and assuming the best of each other.
Where do you see the next 5 years going, Rhea Lana?
Well, we hope to be growing. We do. We hope to continue to grow and expand our footprint. We actually just launched into Utah this year. We're opening our second franchise in Utah. So we started again around Arkansas. We're gradually going to all the coasts. And so we would love to be in New York, Jill, where you are. And so we'd love to be all over.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Before you go, how can franchising help a woman really succeed in business?
Well, I love franchising for women because you don't have to figure it out from scratch. We've got it figured out for you, or whatever franchise you look into. That's the benefit, is they've got the model, they've got the systems, they've got the support. Now, I would encourage everybody to really, whatever industry you're looking into, be sure you fully vet them. Go look for recommendations, look at how they're rated, look at their performance, because not every franchise is equal. And so, but I would say overall, I love that, because you don't have to be the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur came up with the original model. I like to say I had one great idea a long time ago, and now I have a great team that just is helping me continue to innovate and change. And so, but I love franchising for women. If you're not really an entrepreneur, but you want to do business, then I think franchising is a really great way to go.
Is there anything, Rhea Lana, that you wish you had where you were building, or wish someone told you that you didn't know in the beginning?
I do think I wish that I'd had more voices speaking into my head. You can do more than you think you can. And you really are amazing. And just there wasn't much of that. And I don't think it's there for many women either. And then plus we're just so hard on ourselves. So I probably would love to have had a community of other women that were doing what I was doing, or just people that were maybe believe, but at the same time, I think we all have to just take the journey that we have, and you gotta ultimately you have to believe in yourself. And then you got to find those tools to equip yourself, whether it is through reading or podcasts or finding groups to be part of. I probably still don't have a huge community. Sometimes it can be hard to find, especially, I will say this, Jill, one thing I found early on is there were women that were succeeding, but maybe the models that I saw were not really succeeding in family as well. Like they really had to sacrifice a lot to get to, and I understand why that had to happen. But for me, I really was trying to do both. I really wanted to succeed in my family, and I really wanted to succeed in business. And so that is my hope for women, is that you can experience both, because you want to get to the end of your life and have those relationships and also have success. And so, that's to me true joy and true success.
What was the hardest lesson then you learned throughout this whole process?
Well, I think there's some give and take. There were definitely some years when I would love to have pushed my business forward, and my husband and my family was like, "Oh, this is too hard. Oh, this is too much." And so there were some times I definitely had to sort of maybe pull back the reins when my kids were young, and if it was too much. And so that's probably one of the lessons, I've learned is, there is some give and take. You got to give. And, none of us have guaranteed, relationships, and all things are hard. It doesn't always work out, but I do think if we can try to do what we can to figure out and stay committed to the relationships. Maybe we need some counseling. Maybe we need, personal counseling, professional counseling, business counseling, do all those things. I personally have done that. Actually about 5 years ago, I actually did hit a wall emotionally. I've been pushing hard for a long, long time. And I just kind of realized, hey, and it came about I just started crying. And I don't cry
Mm,
much. I was raised in the military. I'm a pretty tough woman, but it was kind of my first thing of, hey, I think I need some professional help. And I went to a counselor, and I should have done it a lot earlier. And so I
right.
encourage people to get that professional help. And I really had hit a wall, and I just needed some help sorting some things out.
Sure.
And so that's probably my biggest lesson is get the help where you need it,
Right.
and keep tweaking, keep making those adjustments so that you can get to the end of your life and have a life that you have enjoyed and you can be proud. It's not perfect. Life is messy,
Mm,
it's never going to be perfect, but to get to the end and have relationships that you enjoy and a life that you
mm.
enjoy.
I think that's a very important point because I feel like so many women don't want to reach out. They tell their friends, but they don't want to reach out when they're struggling with whatever they're struggling because I think you're not alone, Rhea Lana. I mean, I think most women reach that point where they're like, I'm at a breaking point, right? I can't, there's
Mhm.
only so much I can do, right? Right. So,
Yep.
yeah.
I learned it. I mean, I
Mm,
think I had always been raised that you always do the next hard thing and you handle the next
mm,
hard thing and you can to a point. And
mm,
then and that's when you kind of need some help. So I would encourage our listeners out there to definitely get help when you need it because
mm.
it makes you better. And then it makes those around you better because I had to make some changes. But then that also positively impacted the relationships around me.
Mm. Do you have a big family growing up? And you said you grew up in the your parent was in the military. And how has that affected and what you're doing now? Did you bring in some traits that you learned? Because that's a tough life.
It was a tough life. I had,
Yeah.
by the time I was 18, we had moved 22 times and I went to 4 high schools.
Wow.
So I probably
Wow.
didn't realize how tough that was. And 2 of those were actually in Germany.
Wow.
So it was tough. My dad was an army officer. He's actually a war hero. He was really tough.
Oh, wow.
And so and my mom was a school teacher. And so there was some he was pretty hard on me.
Mm,
And so that was hard. At the same time, the good part is I can do hard things. And maybe I was a little
mm,
tougher than maybe your average woman who didn't go through that growing up.
mm.
Because my dad always expected a lot from me. We didn't do drama in my family. We just always, and I played sports and he kind of always pushed me to work hard and run fast and be tough.
Mhm.
So I do think all those things were great with building resilience and grit. But again, I do say we can only do those things for so long
Yeah.
without maybe some good skills with how to how to have some balance, how to kind of maybe I didn't take care of myself like I maybe should have, and that's where I just really have a heart for the women who are
Mm,
giving and giving and giving and not ever really taking care of themselves. At some point, you're going to hit empty,
mm,
and so I would love for women to start really taking care of themselves sooner probably than I did.
mm. Well, because I think it's part of the culture that we learn that
Hmm.
being, self-care is selfish, and it's not whatsoever. You know, it's
Right.
always we always talk about, you put the mask on yourself and with like the instructions on the airplane, put the mask on yourself and then you can help others. Take care of yourself and you can help more people, you know.
Hmm.
So what any last, any tips that you want to give moms who are saying, that's a good, I don't know, maybe I'll go into business. Maybe I have this great idea. Maybe I should do it.
Oh, I just say, just keep going down that path, but don't just think about it, test it out. Act
Mm,
on it. Have some courage to step out of what feels comfortable. Try some new things. Don't take a huge risk. Don't put your family in debt, or
right.
if
Right.
you're not in a place to do that. But I just say go for it and try some new things. Step out there, and really, I think they will discover some things about themselves they didn't know. And that's kind of
Mm,
what I have learned is I didn't know I liked business. And
mm.
so my family again didn't do business. So try some new things, step out of your comfort zone. And I just think you'll find some joy where you least expected it.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God. Well, all right, that's it for us. So I want to say thank you to Rhea Lana Riner for coming on the show. You're amazing. You're amazing,
Oh,
Rhea
Jill,
Lana.
thanks for having me. Thank you for what you're doing. It's just been a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for giving your tips. And listen, if anyone is interested in opening this a franchise store, please reach out, right, to I'm assuming they can go onto your website and get information, right?
Yes, RheaLana.com. And then we're also giving away a free consult. If anyone wants to go to RheaLana.com/podcast, I'd be happy to just chat about franchising or just chat about their journey. So, you can find us all over social media and on our website.
Oh, and you have a podcast. I didn't even know that. So that's even better.
Well, no, it's not I'm sorry. It's not a podcast. It's just a page on our website where people can go. That way we know that they listen to the podcast.
Oh, how great. Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you again for sharing your story, Rhea Lana. And I'm Jill Conway. And thank you for listening to the show Celebrating Incredible Women. I hope you're inspired to pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. Your voice matters and your story can help others. I hope you join me next time and head to Powerful Women USA to hear about incredible events coming up. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye, everybody.